cuts. So for this particular one, which is absolutely my favorite cut of this movie, tell us a little bit about what you tried to accomplish, you know, the theme, story, characters, and everything with this cut.
Well, I think this cut existed before the theatrical cut, right? So this was the movie, and then they were like, well, make it shorter.
So you recorded it.
So it's a hard like. So I mean, I guess what we were trying to accomplish with the movie was this.
Yeah, it worked. Yeah.
And then the other thing that happened was, you know, that. So that's fine. Like I brought it in the theatrical version, but this is better. I kept like going like, there is like the cut. I think right before we finished this one, because didn't we have like, remember when I throw the money? Because I do all of Ben's close-ups of his hands, right? So all the hand shots are me, right? If it's like him putting down the phone or pushing some buttons, I'm like, get out of here, I'll do this. So remember that? Because remember he get paid when he at the fight when he. Remember, and then he throws the money. I thought it was in there for a long time. I guess we take it out the last second. Anyway, there's a few things that I was like, kept going like, oh, yeah, okay, that's cool. But this. It's cool. It was really fun to see it though tonight. I haven't seen it for a while, so it's fun.
Yeah, it really worked.
Yeah. So, with Damon, I got a question, and this is one of some of the film students were asking. So, staging stunts, it's a little different these days now that the movies use a mix of practical and digital imagery. So, in your career, how has that changed how you work, since you're really not going to see the whole thing until all the effects are in? I know you guys do a lot of practicals, but tell us a little bit about how sort of working with your digital partners.
Yeah, well, you need a great collaboration with them. So DJ, who is out of the country, unfortunately.
DJ, is the best. Hopefully he's watching on the internet. DJ!
And also shout out to Brian Hirota, who those guys really understand the process of meshing with live action. In the beginning, say late 90s, sort of mid 90s, there was a clash between stunts and visual effects, and it was one trying to outdo the other. And the way that I came about it, and we came about it, DJ as well, is we're fans of the other departments, right? We want to make a cool movie. So if he can do something better, or visual effects can do something better, and it will advance the scene or highlight something, great, and vice versa. They're also saying, hey, can you push this? We need more. Can you not rip this guy in half, but go as close as you can? Yes, we will. So yeah, it's a far more common thing now. When you see, say, the warehouse fight scene, that was obviously something we tried to just do almost everything in camera other than some CG cape, one ghost image of Batman when he enters the room.
One bloody hit.
Yeah, a little blood and a few gunshots there.
Right. Well, it is.
Yeah, that blood on the wall was not in the theatrical version. Apparently that was
Too much.
Yeah, kids can't see that.
All right, since we're talking about inside baseball here on making movies, so Scott, at what stage in the editorial process are you coming in to start on your magic? Do you see the dailies and then you start thinking about it, or are you right behind the editor? Do you wait for a first assembly? How do you do that, all that? And then once the music is there, does that make you change stuff, or how does all that work?
As far as when I start, it varies from film to film, budget to budget, schedule to schedule, and filmmaker to filmmaker. Some filmmakers really like us to be involved sooner rather than later, so we can start getting ideas percolating and develop. And in this case, I usually start right around the editor's cut. And David is brilliant at sound. The first time I met David on Man of Steel, I came in and watched the film, and at the end of it, I was like, dude, that was amazing. You don't need us. He had already done an amazing job of putting in a lot of temp sounds, and we had sent he and his assistant some sounds from us. So it's good to get in earlier and get sounds into the admin where they're editing day to day. and so everyone starts to warm up to not only specific sounds, but the ebb and flow and architecture of the sound design.
Yeah, because the world engine you gave us pretty kind of early, right?
Very,
Yeah.
very early on. So, no, it's really cool to start collaborating as early as possible. And some films, aren't that fortunate budget-wise or schedule-wise, but with Zack, sound's important, and love that he gets us in there early to start doing our thing and getting things established. And yeah, through the process, typically there's temp music, and David does a great job of that, putting together. He actually really makes it tough on the composers to get something better.
Yeah, it's really bad.
No, we start building sounds against David's temp music because we know even though it's going to be replaced 100%, in this case by Hans Zimmer and Junkie. At least at that juncture, we know the energy of the score. It's not going to be exactly the same note for note, but at least we know what kind of energy that we're up against, what kind of orchestration to anticipate. And then, hey, there's nothing. You show up at the final dub, and there's Hans's stuff. You're like, oh my God, what are we going to do now?
No, because it is a battle, like between sound. I mean, not a battle, but there is a balance between sound effects and music. Sometimes we'll like push music will take the lead, and sometimes sound effects will like push the scene. So it is hard. Sometimes you like them both so much that that's when they really have to work their magic to kind of strike this balance that's like imperceivable.
3 years later, watching this, you always, when you watch something that you did in the past, you look at it and you always have a million things you would want to do differently. Not that anything that you did was wrong or bad, but there's just always new things coming up, new ideas and whatnot. And I think next time we'll even get a better balance between music and
That was George Lucas line. I think he said, sound is the other half of the movie, and it's very evident, certainly in Zack's movies.
Yeah,
and this one, it's so rich.
Well, we joke even with Frankie Montano, if you were here Friday night for Dawn of the Dead, we always say, in Zack's film, we use sound as a weapon, and it works out that way.
Do you have any safe doors closing?
Yeah.
That's what
Come up with a sound that's a little not powerful enough for Zack. He just looks at me and says, "Safe door." Safe door.
Like a giant safe door closing. That should be the sound of the guy. And then he'll be like, "But it's someone closing their lighter."
So in the library, it's
Did I not say it's safe door?
Safe door. Thank you for that.
No, it's good stuff. So Larry, one of the myriad things I love about this thing is just that, it's a big epic and it feels like it's beautiful like an art movie, and there's so much texture in the different sequences and what have you. And I know you guys like to shoot on film, which we think is awesome. It's not either or, it's a choice now, it's an artistic choice. So tell us a little bit about how you approach it, like we had the desert scene and then we had other scenes. So was it different film stocks? Did you do it in post?
Also, I just want to apologize for that weird little snafu you guys saw with the color. Again, I think that's just more evidence to why we need this theater. Yeah. I did it on purpose. I yeah, so
it made our point.
I apologize to Larry. It's his plus school too. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I was kind of bummed out when I thought, no, was I really gonna? I have to let it go because I'm sure no one's gonna care. And meanwhile, I hear people behind me going, "The color's weird."
So buy those T-shirts, guys, if you want good color.
And then it changes, right? It's so good. Goes, it's still kind of red. So like it would memorize the look of the movie. So cool. That's good. Can't underestimate those fanboys. Those girls.
Hey, there's girls here.
When I got on, Zack had a lookbook actually made under Chris Struthers, who went to ArtCenter as well, put together. So a lot of directors do this. They have someone go out and compile looks for under your guidance, and then they actually have a book I still have that. It's worth a lot of money.
You should sell it.
It's a bound book, and it has all these photos from all kinds of great photographers, and it doesn't mean we're going to exactly duplicate that kind of thing, but it just gets in your head throughout this whole book, kind of the vibe of the film. And there's nothing more specific than that. Like I said yesterday, when we look at specific films and say copy that, or this photo is just kind of, I've known the guy for 30 years or something. So when he talks about it, kind of get it until you say it sucks. No, we don't talk that much on the set. I kind of do it. He might say, I must be more exciting, more still, or moodier, but it's surprising how much of it is kind of, I think, subconscious. Yeah. I think.
It is. I agree. It is. And what we do too, we talk about it a fair amount beforehand, hopefully. Because the thing is, I think that the one thing about our movies, and I think the way we've made the movie so far, is that there's an extensive built into our schedule. Is so I draw for however long it is, 5 months, and then we have these super long pre-pro meetings where I lose my voice because I just talk for 8 hours straight about the drawings. I'm like, okay, in this shot, okay, let's talk about shot number 987 or whatever it is. It's a close-up of a thing, whatever. I don't know what it is. Or I'll be like, okay, so, and then everyone, and everyone's in the room, and they're all like, okay, well, so does everybody know what's gonna happen in the shot, and blah blah, whatever. So it's I feel like by the time we show up on set, we've kind of done it once a little bit, and even with the stunt viz and stuff that we do that Damon does with his guys, where they shoot, the sort of sequence with a video camera on stage and you kind of see all the shots, and it's kind of, we review it and we go over it 100 times. And okay, this is a good, and then we're gonna put them on this kind of wire, we're gonna pull them like this, and those boxes will be a wall, whatever it is. So I do feel like on the day we're pretty much zoned into it pretty hard, I think.
No, we'd also have set walkthroughs too. So as the sets are being built, we'll all go to the set, and Zach will say, we'll go this way, and that's where this is going to happen. So a lot of preparation.
Yeah, which makes the day a little easier. More time for tricks and fucking around.
But also, no, seriously, my style is kind of just stay out of the way of the director when they're shooting. I think a lot of DPs are kind of in there. You see behind the scenes, they're always framing shots and running around circles. And it's behind the scenes of my films, you don't even see me. And in the books, where's that guy? Just because I'm prepping the next set or discussing with my lighting guys what we're going to do. I'm not asking him a million questions because he has more important things to do.
No, by the way, Larry's the best. There's no two ways about it.
I got a question for Rich. Since you're so good at what you do, what drew you to this world of stunts, and what was your big break? I'm not talking about phones, but just how you did it, and and how you train and all that kind of stuff. Because I never see stuntman school, and so you're at the top of your game. How did you get there?
Well, I've been training martial arts for a long time, and that's how I got into stunts through martial arts. It's a little bit different training. I think when you first become a martial artist, I think we're all a little paranoid, because you want to be able to walk the streets and protect yourself. But when you train for movies, it's a completely different deal. It's a different type of training. My big break, in my opinion, was doing Dawn of the Dead with Zach, the stuff we did in LA, because they did most of it in Toronto. Because simply, I've been fortunate enough to do all these live action movies, and there's no one in the industry I'd rather work for. It's not even close.
Well, clearly there's no one I'd rather have because you're in all the movies, so it's that's a good relationship there.
Well, for those of us who like these things, which is all of us, the way they're crafted and the way they're performed is just par excellence. When you see it done badly, you realize how well you guys are doing it. So it's pretty amazing. Thank you. Great, thanks.
I mean, the thing about Rich that's awesome, other than because when Damon and I whenever we're talking about oh yeah, we should get someone's got to do this thing, you know, whatever it is. You know, they got to punch a guy or be Batman, for instance, you know. And when we've talked about like, well, Batman's got to like, in our movies, he's got to really be able to throw a punch correctly, and he's got to be like, he's a brawler and like the most but elegant, you know, it's like a combo of these two things of being able to raw power, but also with efficiency, and you know, like his technique and everything has got to be like super clean, but also sometimes that could translate to not looking aggressive or super strong. And I think that's what Rich has, you know, the ability to kind of do those two things at the same time. And by the way, you saw it in Watchmen too, you know, because he, you know, when Adrian's beating the comedian up, it's the same kind of thing. You know, like you see that he's basically like this well-oiled machine, but also at the same time he's just like brutally like laying it down. So I think that, and that's what when we came to Batman, we were like, okay, Rich is the obvious choice because you know he's able to do that, and that's a rare thing. You know, there's not a lot of.
And if I could just add, it was you know, I remember talking. Rich and I have known each other for 30 years. We came up in the business together, and you know, when it was time for Batman, I'm like, look, he's one of my closest friends, but we're gonna have to look at a lot of people and just see. And he still, nobody came close.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, so that's good.
Rich, were you the one who was standing? Were you Batman standing on the crane?
No, that wasn't me.
That wasn't you. Who was standing on the crane, Dave?
That was Tim Rigby.
Okay.
Oh, that's right, because he's like not afraid of heights.
Crazy.
Literally not afraid of heights. He like wingsuits out of airplanes and stuff, so he's like, he'd rather be at heights. He craves heights. Yeah. And then we had Ben on the little crane, on that little. I don't know if we had a prop, you know, so, but it was still pretty high. I wasn't sure he was gonna get up there. Yeah, he did. Cool. Oh, and none of that counts. I always had this thing in my mind that, like, you know, when you do a movie, or like, you know, before I started working on movies, is that like, you know, I like to jump around and like fuck around, you know, with the props and shit like that when we're making a movie. You know, it's just like a thing. You know, I'm always like, okay, pick up the thing like this, and then throw it at him, you know, whatever. So I like to participate in that physical part of it. But it's funny because like actors aren't that into that part of it. I thought they'd be super into it, but they're not. They don't like that. They gotta be like they don't like it. They're always like, they just look at me like, all right, okay, go sit down. But I'm always like, okay, but do it as good as I did it.
Can I tell a quick story? Do you mind if I
Yes.
tell a quick story? We were doing 300, and Jerry Butler was trying to throw a spear, one of the spears, and it just wasn't working. And he's like, they're not aerodynamic. I can't possibly do it. And this is a true story, and I'm not making this up. Damon and Zach can confirm this. There was a regular piece of, you know, like paper hanging, which was supposed to be the target. So come as close to that as you can. And he was throwing it, was going to the dirt, it's going way there. He goes, it's just not aerodynamic, I can't do it. So Zach goes, So he grabs the spear, I'm not kidding, chucks it, and it hits the paper dead center.
It's actually a picture of Xerxes' face. It really was. It was like a little Rodrigo up on the thing.
And the stunt team went nuts. And Jerry Butler on his head.
By the way, Jerry's told that story just recently on for whatever that what's the movie he's in right now? I think it was the submarine one. Yeah, the submarine one. Yeah. Yeah. So he was like just going, Snyder like. Fucking jerk.
I can elaborate really quickly on Dawn of the Dead, which was your first feature. Let's say the frustration or let's say your enlightenment to actors maybe not being able to duplicate your movement.
Oh, that's nice.
That didn't stop with just the actors, it also went into the stunt players as well. It emanated there. because he'd come up with a move, the way he wanted one of the zombies to move, and he would snap, boom, 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 make this angle, kind of hit the ground, and then some player would.
And also, we were like, remember, we had some old school guys up in Canada. Like,
right. And then they'd walk away, and then Zach would have this puzzled look on his face, and I go, boy, see, Zach, I go, here's the thing, you're kind of a physical cat. So, not everybody can do what you do. He could have had a hell of a career as a stuntman.
oh, that would have been cool.
Yes. He could do both.
I don't know, yeah, maybe better. No, but it's great. By the way, I really, and the honest answer is I have a huge respect for these guys. And like Matty Rigetti, who's the guy we worked with forever, who doubled Rorschach for a lot of the Rorschach stuff. And like Matty was in 300. Matty's like, he's the guy that Eli jumps on and bites his face. That's Matty without his mask on. He looks like he's 12 years old. By the way, I just saw him a couple weeks ago. He looks exactly the same. So, but he had two hairy stunts in Watchmen. One where we kick him into this dumpster, and he goes in and goes into it upside down and then falls on his neck. And I was like, yeah, like, can we? It's like a guy. He's like your friend. It's like, hey, like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. Blah blah. Okay, we're gonna throw you in that dumpster. It's like, sorry about that. And then he also had to jump out the window, right, and land on the ground and fight those cops. But we kept doing it, and David would be like, no, the assist is too, like, because he's on a wire a little bit to just kind of break his fall. It's 2 stories, And so, David would be like, no, it's too much wire. It looks like he's floaty. He's floaty. You get all like, he's so fucking floaty. Yeah. Again. And Maddie's like, oh, my shins. And then like the last one, I'm like, I think the guy didn't even like hold the rope. Let it down. And I just was like, okay, we gotta stop. I think it's fine. It doesn't yeah, I think it's a ploy to get me to like, he's like, I think we should do it again. I'm like, oh, okay, it's enough. To torture me. But no, it's good. But I really, like the guys, you can't, there's no movie, you can have all the ideas in the world, but if you don't have the guys that have like, the dedication and the kind of desire to like do those amazing things in physicality, then there's like, you're not filming anything, because they're just amazing. So a huge respect for these guys.
So David, question for you in terms of just some of the earliest process of editorial, because I figure once you get down to audio assembly, you're tweaking, but that first pass, and I guess you were behind the production a little bit. Are you going back to the script? Are you just going off of the boards or off of the footage you have? And because these movies, they're such gigantic puzzles, how do you bring that together so that you're telling this concise story?
So every director is different. And when I first started working with Zack on Man of Steel, as an editor, you're like, okay, how am I gonna? And I was kind of the new guy because like DJ and everybody, and I was like, how am I gonna figure this out? What does he do? And I figured out pretty soon that he has a really, really strong and very unique system, which is that, as you mentioned, he draws the whole movie. So there's 2 things. Like usually when you come on as an editor, you have the script, and then you have dailies. With Zack, you have the script, you have dailies, and then you have the fact that he drew the whole movie. So when you're first putting a scene together, you look at the dailies and you look at the notes that you went through with Zack when you saw did daily screening, and then as you go through the cutting process, what I realized is if I remembered these boards that he did, the drawings, it was a really good way to always get back to what his intention was. And we would actually digitize, we had our assistants eventually digitize these pictures into the Atom. So sometimes if you have a shot and you don't have stunt viz yet or previs, we just digitize the picture. And sometimes we'd have a screening and like, we have all these like visual effects and we're watching with people, someday, boom, there's a picture of like, it's a drawing that Zack did. And we're like, okay, well, that's gonna be awesome someday. It's just a black and white picture. But the point is you have to sort of reconcile, there's the script and there's Zack's visual kind of like visual design of how we wanted to have this work. And so you take these 2 things, and then I would do a first cut, put a lot of, I always put a lot of effort into my first cuts. I'm like, oh, it's gotta be perfect. I remember Zack was like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just the first guy. I remember on Man of Steel, you told me that. I'm like, oh. Okay. But like, you know, I put sound in it, music, and try to make it feel like a movie because also in a lot of these, you know, big visual effect movies, you don't have the certain shots of like Doomsday. You don't have it. You just have like, you know, something that's really, really rough, and so you try to make people feel like what's going on with sound and music. So, you know, I would show it to Zach and get his feedback, and then we would basically work together. And Zach's theory about editing is that get the scenes as good as they can be before you start to take stuff out. Which means that, like, I don't know what the first cut of, it was over 4 hours.
Yeah,
Right?
sure. Yeah, 4 hours and something.
Right. So because it was every moment. So every moment that Zach shot, we made it work.
There were a lot of moments, like, you know, like anything, we'd be in the pre-pro meeting, and someone who hadn't worked with us a lot would go like, oh yeah, I read the script, and it says, and I'd be like, don't do it. It's bad to read the script. You just have to look at the drawing is we're gonna film that. So whatever it says in the words is not that important. I mean, the dialogue, yeah, sure, but what it's describing is not, it's, because a lot of times, you know, look, and writers are amazing, but, you know, the particular blocking of reality is sometimes, you know, really different from like what this, you know, writer thought. Oh, you know, when they walk in the room, they're gonna like, you know, you're like, no, there's like 30 feet to the door. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So anyway, that's a very mild example of how. But I do tend to like encourage people just to use the drawings more than the script, and I think it takes a little getting used to. I think in the pre-pro process, because people are very, you know, they're trained to just read the script like the Bible, and I tend to like say, oh, there's another Bible, a better Bible, and it's illustrated. Super convenient.
But what's kind of cool is that it's not just me who's using these boards. It's like at the same time, DJ, the visual effects supervisor, has taken these boards and he's created previs out of it. And Damon has taken these boards and he's made stunt vids. So all these departments are doing the same thing, and it comes into editorial. You're like, okay, and I realize there's a system. Like Zach has a system that I've never seen any director have before. I mean, usually as an editor, your problem is like, what is the director imagining that I can't see on dailies? And a lot of directors, they can't express it, or they keep it to themselves. I don't know why they do that, but some do. But with Zach, that's not a problem because you understand visually what's going on. You understand the intent, and if you can understand what the intent is, you can always get back to it, and that's always a good thing to do.
Great, thanks.
And by the way, David is amazing. He's an amazing collaborator. Makes it better every time. Really does. I mean, it's like, you know, that's the whole thing that's amazing about this group of people up here. You know, for me, as a filmmaker, you have an idea and then they make it better. You know, that's the thing that's amazing about these guys. Like, they literally, you know, I'm like, oh, I kind of got it. I pushed it as far as I could, and then they just take it and like, flies to the horizon. So it's really, you know, an honor for me to get a chance to work with these guys because they really do make it better.
All right, let's open it up for questions. Hands up, please.
Ross.
Wait, whoa.
We're starting with the ladies tonight.
Megan, wait 1 second. Sorry, I hate to be this guy. If you lost a phone, it's up at the check-in. There's some other lost items up there also. And then, because I have the mic, when we end the Q&A, the line will form when you walk out to the right. Take it away.
Hi there, my name is Robin, and this is Ziggy, and I guess in our relationship am the Deborah to a Zach Larry combo.
Cool.
So I am curious, sorry to put you on the spot out in the audience, but I'm curious how you guys manage that dynamic between business and personal, if there's like rules when you get home or anything like that. That's one question, and my other question is, did you guys ever explore the indie route, and if so, what was that experience?
You mean as far as making a movie?
As far, yeah, it's like producing and going the indie route rather than through the studio.
Have we ever done this? No. It sounds cool. Oh, yeah, we're doing Netflix, so they don't count. But... yeah, we're like an indie. I'm doing this little indie film with this little company called Netflix. No, I mean, I don't know. We don't really have like, we don't really stop talking about, we don't have a line that we
talk about work all the time.
Yeah.
But you know something, I think when you do, we feel so lucky to be able to do what we do. And in that, like, it's just part of our lives. And the fact that on these movies, and a lot of times I think it can be lonely, but we've created this amazing family, and they go with us, with their kids, and it's like, I always say it's like a traveling circus. So in a way it doesn't stop, and it really melds, but it's the most beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is. Cool. But yeah, because I got I get out of the shower, and I'm like, say something like, I think we could if I cut that one part of and she'll go, now what are we talking about? Is this a kid thing? I'm like, no, I was actually talking about that. Remember, 2 hours ago, I was talking about that idea I had, and then I stopped, and we did something, and now it just occurred to me again. She's like, okay, just give me a little warning, so I know what we're talking about. But that's pretty much how it goes all the time. And it is true. We do have a little, I always want everyone to live in the same house, on location. We haven't been able to do that yet, so I'm excited for the possibility. Whenever we're going to a location, I'm like, is there any giant castles or mansions, close to the state of the studio where everyone could live?
He wanted us to live in motorhomes all together at the stages, and I was like, I think we need to leave the stage a little.
I was like, then we could just work all the time.
It's because there were no dorms here at ArtCenter, so
yeah,
we didn't have that living.
Right. I didn't get my my dorm life out of my system, so I still hope to get that done. So these guys are up for it. So
it's kind of a show business truism. If you hear about people who work with the same people, that tells you they are awesome, because it's a lot of times people can't work with each other after one movie. So the fact that you and Larry working together, working with your wife, and she's working with you, that says a lot about the nature of those artists, that people want to work with them, and vice versa.
They haven't murdered me yet, so it's good times.
Night is young.
Yeah.
Ross.
Next question. They're calling them out for me because I can't see a damn thing up here. Yes,
Hi,
sir.
My name is Nigel. Recently, in an interview, James Cameron said that you are responsible for creating a distinct cinematic language, which I think this weekend is evidence of. That being said, I think this movie is evidence of that, and with the scene in particular, the Martha scene. How did that kind of come to fruition, and what was your guys' kind of response to the audience's response to that scene? I'm sure you are, all aware, well aware of, the memes and kind of. So, thank you.
Well, it's funny because Chris Terrio and I, we knew we had reached that point in the movie in our discussions. We knew how to get him to fight, right? But how would you get him to stop fighting? That's a tough one, And we sort of were just drilling down on their humanity, and Batman realizing that Superman, had humanity, and that he was not just a creature, and that he was a man. He's a man, he's an alien, but he is as human as he in a lot of ways he's more human than human, right? So he sort of embraced all the good parts of the human race, and so Batman's able to sort of see, in a lot of ways, a thing that he is not, right? And I think that was how we started to talk about it. And then it was actually Chris who was told me, he goes, just saying that, is it weird that they both mothers have the same name. And I was like, that's crazy. Is that true? That is true. And so like that's kind of how the conversation started. You know, it's as simple as that, just like you would with your buddies. I'm sure when you're sitting around and someone goes, hey, did you know? So that's kind of how it started, and then we started talking about how it could work, and you know, if it was Lois that said it, maybe it's even better. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing, you know. And look, it's a mythological construct. I have no problem with that part of it. Although we did have an idea that maybe that Martha didn't die, and that she got put in witness protection in Kansas. I'm just saying. Felt like it was possible. Anyway, you can only push it so hard. But yeah, so I'm.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
We love it.
Next question. Megan, you got one?
Hi again. I've asked the question every day here, but I got here at 10 a.m. this morning, so I think I've earned it. So I mentioned this on Friday, but I really want to thank you again, Zack, for casting Tao Okamoto in the film, because as a proud, I'm not going to get emotional, but you know, as a proud Japanese woman, I never get to see myself, you know, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to cry from his accent, I'm not going to do that, but it really, really means a lot. So just really, like, I cannot thank you enough for that, especially because that character is not originally Asian, and most people probably wouldn't even let her audition. So I just really, really want to thank you for that again.
Yeah, I had seen her in the Wolverine movie, you know, and it was just like, I was like, this girl's awesome. I was like, is there a way, who could she be? She needs to be somebody in our movie. And she was a joy to work with and amazing. Did you ever see that picture of me she giving me a piggyback?
Oh, yeah.
She's skinny, but she's super strong.
But my question is actually about, you know, the story of Batman versus Superman. So there's so much commentary in the film, and in particular, one of the things that comes up a lot is fear of the other. And I'm curious how you came to decide that that was what you wanted to use as sort of the genesis of Bruce's hatred towards Superman, and because funnily enough, similarly to what people were saying last night about how Watchmen is more relevant now than when it came out, I think the same, unfortunately, can be said for Batman versus Superman,
Sure.
Because when you hear Bruce's rhetoric and when you see those protesters, it's just, it kind of stings a little bit because of how real it is.
In kind of a good way, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so how you came to decide to use that for the story.
Yeah, no, again, you know, I think that what is the movie, 4 years old? 3 years old. So, but when we were writing it was 4 years ago. So it was just like a lot of stuff that Chris and I, you know, would talk about, like how do we make the movie, you know, and you know, it's a coming tide like anything. You know, when you feel something in the zeitgeist, you can talk about it and write about it, and maybe it allows it to sort of, you know, come to fruition or not. But, you know, I think in this case, it's been very, you know, especially as like this whole idea of sort of treating Superman as an immigrant or as like, you know, this other, an alien, you know, and you know, the pun is not, you know, not meant. And I think that really informed a lot of just the way we thought about it. And, you know, it's a lot about, but I think also it's interesting that it doesn't judge, the movie kind of doesn't judge in a lot of ways. It allows people to have a point of view that's the opposite and then change and then have another point of view. And I think that that's an important message of the movie too, is that like we learn from each other. Like a lot of it's misunderstanding, you know, like a lot of it is that we're not taking time to look from the other perspective. And if we did, we would be able to see maybe another world, like another way of feeling. And I think that that's an important part of the movie, and I think it comes through it. It's a great question. Sir.
Zach again, I'm Joe.
Hey, Joe.
How are you? Two questions. One's a small one, so I after the big question, it's just the Twitter sphere wants to know, and I kind of want to know. Actually, no, I'll start with it. It's a small question. You can just shoot it straight away. People want to know who your favorite Spider-Man is and what your favorite Spider-Man movie is. You're just going to say that real quick.
Who are these people?
Oh, a lot of people.
I guess my favorite Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, movie and
I guess it was Spider-Man 2.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. There's some really great stuff in that movie. I think super cool, and yeah. So that, and then what's the other one?
Who's your favorite actor? I'm guessing Toby then.
I guess it's Toby.
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
It's 2, so it's Toby. But you know, it's hard because there's been a lot of great Spider-Man.
All right. Well, anyway.
Man, possibly men. Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's Toby.
Okay, just wondering. All right. Now here's a real question. It's about working on big blockbusters and stuff like that. BVS, other ones, Man of Steel. You go through a lot of rumors, and I just want to know what it's like when you hear a rumor about a certain casting. And I remember when Jenna Malone was cast. People were like, "Oh, Barbara Gordon." And then there was that stunt man that was wearing the jacket. It was like Hal Jordan. And I just want to know, when you read those, do you find them funny, or are you like, oh, hey, that's actually a cool idea? I mean, my favorite one was the Army Hammer on Justice League, but I just want to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard because Debbie and Wes are right there, and mostly it's Debbie and Wes and I that talk about. We're the ones that Wes will go, hey, just saw this thing where they think that Jenna Malone is whatever, like that. Yeah. And I go, oh, and then we just always. I mean, the truth is, because we're making the movie and we've already kind of had the idea about what we know what's happening. If everyone's mad, I'm like, oh, it's fine. They're gonna find out what the real deal is, and it'll be fine. If everyone's super psyched, it's a little more problematic, because they're like, oh, that's gonna be so cool. And then I'm like, well, maybe when they find out what we're doing, it'll be just as cool. So yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really bother me. I guess I'm used to it by now a little bit more. I think just because every single thing you do also has the other version that is not the version. Every single thing, no matter what you say one thing. You can actually say the words. Like I, like Tobey Maguire, and someone will be like, he hates Tobey Maguire. He said that. I was like, I don't think I said that. I'm sure I said I liked him, but anyway. So, you know what I mean. So that's part of it too. So it's hard to tell exactly how to feel about any of the sort of rumor mill as it goes forward. And I don't think we're not that subversive. We don't plant things either. So maybe we should. But yeah, so also we kind of just let it. It has been my experience that it all kind of comes out in the wash a little bit.
Was there one that stuck out that you thought was funny or anything? I was wondering.
Oh yeah, Eli being Robin. Yeah. And then I did stoke that a little bit because I thought that was funny. I was like, fuck yeah, that's cool. I almost put a picture of Eli in the Batcave. But then I thought it looked weird because it was like, this kind of young man in the Batcave. I just thought it just felt a little strange. But I really wanted to.
Over here, Megan.
Hi, Zach. First, I just wanted to personally thank you for all the work that you're doing for suicide prevention. And I guess I'm going to be the first person to throw out that awkward question about Justice League.
Sure, what about it?
So, we did air.
Was it fun to make?
So David Ayer came out and
Oh, David Ayer, okay.
He came out and he talked a little bit more about the early process, about how in Suicide Squad originally their villain was going to be Steppenwolf, and they're going to be fighting parademons and stuff like that, and that and he also released it, and also you on Instagram released an image of Darkseid and stuff like that. So I guess my question is kind of, what the hell happened?
That's a good question.
And what was going to happen?
It's a fair question. David's prize. I'm not sure about that what David's talking about. I mean, look, Steppenwolf's in this movie, which was anyway. I mean, you saw him in this movie, so how? Oh, Granny Goodness. Oh, it could have been Granny Goodness. That might have been cool. I don't remember him talking about that, but that could have been cool. Granny Goodness it's also crazy and fun. But yeah, so look, there was a lot of great conversations that I had with David about, you know, even just getting our Batman in and getting our Flash in Suicide Squad to try and, like, you know, start doing that a little bit. But, you know, we were also not incredibly, we didn't want to go like too crazy with it at the same time. We were trying to be, look, and the idea was that the, you know, different directors would kind of have their take, and we try and just support each other so that, you know, it could mesh up, but at the same time not force anyone into like a decision maybe they didn't want to make, right? That makes, as best you can. It's hard sometimes because you're like, look, you know, I need Steppenwolf because he's the bad guy, one of the bad guys in this movie. So anyway, so those are the conversations that we had, and I thought that everyone was doing a really pretty good job as we went forward, and Patty was awesome because Patty, she had to take my photo, you know, and put it in her movie, and we had to work out how that happened because we had a placeholder photo for a long time that Steve Berkman, who is a teacher at this school and who shot both photos, took. Because even before we had a script for Wonder Woman, you know, we weren't sure when that movie was going to happen and how it was going to happen. And so we had to, just based on our story, we had taken a picture of Wonder Woman in an ancient war with, you know, a team of soldiers, very similar to the one that ended up in her movie. Now, there was an actual story built around the one that she has in her movie, and so that was I thought that was like the best case scenario, right? So, what about it? You mean like how she used it or how it evolved? The Wonder Woman theme was written specifically for this movie, because when we wrote the theme for Wonder Woman in this movie, there wasn't a Wonder Woman movie yet. So you can imagine that. And then it was up to Patty whether she wanted to use it or not, right? And I think it's in the movie. So yeah, so she was like, yeah, cool. And I think Hans is doing now Wonder Woman 84. So that's a good relationship. That's nice. So that's, I think, the best case scenario for how the whole thing could work. And as far as, listen. No. What I was going to say is that, like, look, when this movie came out, understand that we had written, Chris Terry and I had finished the script for Justice League before this movie came out, right? So that script was done. The movie came out, and some people didn't like the movie. A vocal minority. and so I was asked by the studio to, like, say, hey, you can't, there's a lot of stuff we don't want you to do from that script. So we did a rewrite, right, of the script. So the original Justice League that Chris and I wrote, we didn't even shoot. I mean, there's a lot of it that we shot, but the actual idea, the hard idea, the scary idea, we never filmed because the studio was like, that's crazy. And we were so insecure at the time after this movie came out, we were just like, I guess it is crazy. Like, we're fucking nuts. Like, what are we doing? There's gonna be mass hysteria in the streets if we film this. Apparently.
What's kind of crazy?
It's a long story. Suffice it to say,
I'll give another 100.
suffice it to say that, like, so look, the truth is that, you know, the nightmare sequence in this movie, right, was always my idea that all of that would be eventually explained, of course. I mean, is that a surprise? You know, that we would end up in the distant future where Darkseid has taken over Earth and where Superman has succumbed to the anti-life and where he and now with his ragtag band, and there was a few members of the Justice League that had survived to that world and that they were fighting to try and you know, so Batman's with the broken half a cyborg because, you know, it's only half of him because of whatever happened. They were working on equation to jump Flashback to tell Bruce, you know, obviously, you guys are surprised because you know this is what you. I've read it.
So now that you know this, don't tell me.
I just.
Animated film.
I anyway, so those were the things that we were dealing with, and not to say that the studio still, you know, they were still into sort of the big look, but the details of how and why everyone was mad at each other or what, that was the stuff where they were a little bit like, because, you know, Lois, you know, and it's in the little teaser where the Justice League teaser, it wasn't in the movie apparently, where I guess where Wonder Woman says it's this line where Bruce says, "I was right here, and Barry Allen came to me and he said Lois Lane is the key, right?" And then she goes, "He is to Superman. Every heart has one." And he goes, "I think it's something more, something darker," right? And what it means is that the thing that was darker was that, you know, it was all about if Lois died, Superman would succumb to the anti-life, of course, right? And if Superman knew that somehow it was Bruce's responsibility to protect Lois, he would have been mad at him in this movie, right? Like, so that's why he says she was my world and he took her from me. So that was sort of and then of course he has to jump back. And the other thing that we were working on was this idea that Cyborg said to Bruce in the distant future, like, there's two windows. We had come up with this time traveling concept where basically the way the time traveling window worked is that it's not awesome physics and doesn't make any sense, but that you had to jump, you had to do a time jump when the Earth was in relatively the same spot, right? Because if you did a time jump and the Earth wasn't like in the same position in space, you would jump into space and just be like dead. And so, okay, so there's always like, so they had two windows, right, to do the jump. And Cyborg says, like, what, you know, which of these two windows do you think we should use? And Bruce was like, well, what window would you have put me through if you didn't ask? And he's like, this one. And then he's like, use the other one. Because that one you already did, and it was the wrong one. Barry Allen was in my freaking Batcave yelling at me about, like, nonsense. You need to put him through that other one, because that's the one that will, because he had to jump right before Darkseid boom tubes into the Batcave to murder Lois, so you have to. So that was the window that he had to like. Anyway.
All right, so I'm just going to say that right there easily worth another 100.
It's in the future.
There you go. One more question, you guys. One more question. And we have our winner.
Zach, awesome gadgets and just the world you created, the Gotham, the Metropolis that you created was amazing. Two-parter. How did a certain Pasadena Prep High School end up playing in the Metropolis uniforms, the football uniforms? And what was your favorite thing to design in the movie, whether it be a prop or the Batmobile or whatever?
The Pasadena Prep outfits are that they actually got retrofitted. The Maranatha School logo became the Metropolis School logo because I knew I was going to give all those uniforms to my son's high school, which is called Maranatha, and they happen to share a letter with Metropolis, so it worked out pretty great for everyone involved. So those high school kids got these super awesome chrome helmets, and they look fucking rad. So I was like, this is cool. And I just said to Under Armour, like, hey, it'll be cool if you guys donated some uniforms to Maranatha. And the cool thing was like they got receivers gloves, and that's where Eli went to school too. So it all worked out great. So it was cool. And the kids were so. And by the way, they won their league that year. So
there you go. No joke. Thanks so much for coming out, you guys. We really appreciate it. It's a great weekend. Thank you to our panel. We love you guys. Line up out there if you want some stuff signed, and we'll see you soon.